For though you have hidden these things from the wise and the learned, you have revealed them to little ones. And this one line in today's gospel, spoken by Jesus, brought to my mind the truth of these words as I experienced them a number of years ago. I was in a car with a priest friend of mine, and it was a blistering hot day, hotter than today. It must have been 95 degrees in the shade. And we were driving way out in the country, not that close to any town. And as we're moving along, we came upon a man walking alone along the edge of the road. He looked completely exhausted and extremely poor. He was dressed very shabbily, and he appeared to be carrying his belongings with him in a big plastic bag. I just could not imagine what he was doing here in the middle of nowhere. But I was pretty confident that he must be homeless. And so my friend and I looked at each other and could tell what each other was thinking. This was our chance to do our good deed for the day, the perfect opportunity to do the noble and the charitable thing. We figured that if we'd give this guy a lift to wherever he needed to go, then in the process we might ensure a good night's sleep for ourselves. This was crystal clear, a crystal clear chance for us to make a difference in someone's life, even if only in a small way. It was really a chance to be the face of God to another person. And we would feel so good about ourselves. Of that we were sure. Clearly, our motives were less than pure. Isn't that always the truth with those who think themselves to be so wise and so learned? And so we picked him up. And he said his name was Walker. Just a little bit too coincidental, I thought. Really? Walker? And as we drove on, we began to engage him in conversation, knowing that it was going to be at least a good half hour before we came to the next town. Well, my friends, what a conversation we had. This guy, Walker, was quite a talker. He talked about life, faith, family, art, everything you could think about. And the amazing thing was that the conversation was not about him or his problems. It actually was quite the opposite. The reality is that it was more about this stranger wanting to get to know my friend and myself, wanted to enter into our world. Now, we would have understood if we were all focused on him, if he was focused on himself. It probably would have been more justified. It would have made more sense. But by some amazing grace of God, Walker was able to transcend his problems and focus on someone else. Well, we finally got to our destination and proceeded to sit in the car talking for about another 45 minutes. And in the back of my mind, I figured that Walker was just stalling, waiting for an opportunity to ask for some money. Isn't that how it always happens? Haven't we all seen that movie before? But that question never ever came. It never ever came from his mouth. Walker thanked us, got out of the car, and started across the parking lot. I remember looking at my friend saying, "What just happened here? What just happened?" Well, my friend, God surprised both of us that day. We were the ones who received more than we gave. We were the ones ministered to. We were the ones who discovered the face of God in another person. You know, my friends, God is so full of surprises, isn't he? We were convinced that we were the ones doing a good deed, that we were being Jesus to this stranger. Little did we know that we were about to encounter Jesus in this man called Walker, that we were going to be on the receiving end of God's blessing, that this man was about to shower God's grace down upon us. Certainly, this was not the way that we expected things to happen. He often reveals himself to us when we least expect it. God does. Through people we least expect. Through people whom Jesus referred to in today's gospel as little ones. Just think for a moment of the person you like least, the person you can't stand. There you will find Jesus. Imagine the person you think is the most repulsive. There you will find Jesus. Imagine the person most different from who you are. There is the face of God, the God of surprises. My friends, this is the God who surprises us by revealing himself as meek and humble. The God born in a manger, a food trough for barnyard animals. This is the God who surprises us by revealing himself in the face of a poor man named Walker, in a fragile elderly woman, in an unwanted young child. This is the God who surprises us by giving himself completely and unconditionally for our sake on that cross and on that altar. My friends, think for a moment. Do you fully understand or know God? We need to think about that again. Because the minute we think we know where and when God will come to us, it's time to just be quiet, with an open mind and a welcoming heart, because God is just waiting to surprise us through someone we would least expect. May you each experience a Walker in your life over and over again.